Hello again. This is my second one of the day because I missed 2 Sundays. I want to try to catch up. So I'm going to do something a little different. It's not necessarily spiritual. I'm sure it's going to turn into spiritual at some point. I know me. But I want to do something that's just like some foundational things that I've observed over life and just put that message out there and see what happens. One thing to note, it has been studied and researched on several occasions by several different types of minds that the human brain doesn't fully develop until it's 25. 25. So that means between the ages of 18 and 25, even though you're legally an adult, your brain is not legally an adult. It's one of those things that's always in the legal system confused and confounded me that we sentence someone as an adult knowing that their brain is not developed enough. Like, we have the science to say this person's brain, even though they intentionally did something horrific, this person's brain isn't developed enough to have a life sentence, right? At 25, they should be automatically evaluated no matter what they've done. I don't know, it's kind of hard but to think about, but kindness and empathy and sympathy, plus you add to that a bit of knowledge, it'll get us where we need to go when as it pertains to evolving how we think about things. I know that was a really deep thing to start with, but if we start with something that is really hard hitting, then we can maybe get to the meat of the pie, so to speak. Thinking of such things, I also don't believe anybody should, and this is me who I'm saying from a space of not just understanding that, but bias. I was married when I was very young. I was 17. Looking back on it now, I wish I hadn't gotten married at 17. Not that I didn't love the guy that I married. Oh, I absolutely loved him, still love him to this day. And although we are not currently married, still love him to this day. That isn't the point. The point is, I think if we had met each other or decided to be married by the time we were 25 and fully developed and knew who we are as people, first two things, if I'm being honest with myself, we'd probably be really great friends, but not together romantically. And he'd probably say the same. But I don't know that, right? That's an unknowable thing. But what I do know is, from the moment that I was 17 up until the point that I turned 25, I became a whole different person. And there's nobody alive that I know of, that I'm aware of, that can't say the same. It's a big chasm of difference. Now, there ain't no much difference between 35 and the rest of them ages, right? Once you get up to 35 and above, there's not much difference in conscious awareness, at least until you get to about 55 or so, where you get that more crystallized intelligence. But you're still an adolescent until you're 25. So even if nobody else hears me other than my grandbaby or my grandbabies, don't marry nobody till after you're 25. That's for you and for them, because you don't know fully who you are. You don't know fully who you are yet. They don't know fully who they are yet. So you marry somebody, you can feel deeply in love, which is a chemical response more than anything else, without having foundational roots and likes and dislikes, strategies on how you want to do things, whether you want to parent or not parent, how you want to parent, if you both choose to be parents. All those things are difficult to navigate because your brain is not fully developed until you're 25. And you'll be better parents if you choose to be those. If you wait until you have, by that time, if you go straight from high school to college, you'll have finished the foundational work for a college or a trade or get established in some kind of career and have a firm foundation to build upon, as opposed to struggling up until that point. And I don't think enough people actually say that, because we have all these laws telling us what we can and cannot do with our bodies. And I'm like, but can we have a conversation about the fact that we need adequate health care, so that, and not, healthcare is not just a means of seeing a medical professional, although that's obviously a big part of it. It's also education. It's like, can we educate people about the fact that nobody should be making human beings until they're at least 25? Nobody should be getting married until they're at least 25. Not to make a law to force somebody to do something or not do something, But we can educate them about why that would be problematic for them or someone else. Love doesn't cease. Hear that twice. Love doesn't cease. If you love somebody at 21, you're going to love them again at 25. But you might love them different. It's better to have loved that person and then develop who you are and decide, make a real decision, an informed decision based on an adult brain, than get to 25 and you started out young with someone and then suddenly you don't know why you're having problems. Well, you're having problems because you're developing as different human beings, and there is a barrier to that full development because now you're being stagnant in the old version of who you were when you're meant to grow, and you can't grow while still being in the same consciousness that you were in before with that person. It's no different than, chances are by the time you're 30, you have different friends. You might have one friend from childhood, maybe two. But by the time you're 30, you have different friends than you had when you were 15. And even a different type of friend than you had when you were 15. Because you're not still doing the same things as a 15-year-old would. Now, don't get on me because I already told y'all I'm an omnius, but as an omnius, I still do listen to the wisdom of old texts and old words. That's loud. That's cicadas, I believe. Anyway. When you're a child, you do childish things. But when you become a man or an adult, you put those childish things away. And in my experience, getting married so young, I wasn't allowed to put those childish things away because I kept evolving as a person and still struggling to try to fit myself in a round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole for the longest time. And even though there was still love involved in all those things, it was very challenging and difficult within that dynamic because I wasn't the same person. And now I've made a decision when I'm still mentally a child that I have to now own for the rest of my days. How's that work? And then unless the laws change, it is much more difficult still at this time for a woman to get divorced than it is for a man in a lot of ways. Even getting my name back cost me money. It's my name. It shouldn't cost me nothing. But even getting my name back cost me money. I had to go see the commissioner and everything just to get my name back. It should be just, okay, you're not married. Do you want to keep your name, the married name or not? It wasn't that simple. Maybe some places it is, but it wasn't that simple for me. I had to go through a whole process and then pay somebody. And I'm saying this not just for the young ladies out there. I'm saying this for young men or in-betweens. Okay? And it's not just marriage. Making decisions that isn't foundational decisions to build you first. Build you, get you solid in a single space. Like I'm a single person, free, that's a train. Single person and my singleness. Developing who I am so I can be the best version of who I am if I choose to have a partner in my life that I choose to have a long-term relationship with. Because not everybody should choose that. It seems like we're starting to get away from the concept and idea that you must be in union with someone to be fulfilled and happy. That is a social construct that is problematic to mostly women again. And I don't subscribe to such things. Although I do believe in fellowship. I do believe in not being alone all the time because we're not meant to be lonely creatures. We're meant to connect with each other. We are. But to do so in the most healthy and balanced way, we must also be cognitively aware of what we do and do not want. If you've been socially, got a bug on me. If you've been socially trained over time, and like a lot of women have been in my generation and generations before me, to wear a mask in order to go along and get along, or to always be the person that sacrifices so that the family can get by, then where does that leave you in that? You lose yourself. I know I've lost myself many times. Being a solid person on your own for a while until you fully develop and just, have fun out there in the world. It's not about sowing your oats or anything like that. What that means, if anybody don't know, that means that you're just out there dating casually, whatever, until you decide that you want to settle down. I mean, if you do that too long, you're gonna end up alone, long term. So I know some folks out there in their 50s still sowing their royal oats. So I'm like, sir, if you actually did want to settle down with somebody, now would be the time, because you about to run out the clock. And if that's what you want to do, cool. If you want, I think that's still a good decision for someone if they love themselves and they're cool with being okay with being alone. That's also an adequate decision, no matter who you are, male, female, in between. Okay? I think there's so much pressure on having the person that we lose ourselves in that quest. I said in the previous video, what is for you will align with you naturally. Now, you can't find it in the house. Now, that's one of those things I had to get myself out of. I can't find it in the house if I want it. And I spend a lot of time in the house. Like, I don't want to be bothered with nobody's drama or mess. I don't want to be bothered. You hear the sky about to open up. So this video is going to be probably a short one. I do apologize because I ain't trying to get rained on. And it's been raining a lot. So one of the reasons why I didn't do one of the Sundays is like weather. But, oh, this breeze feels good though. Yeah, I was in the house a little over 2 years, just working. I'll go out to have lunch or brunch or something like that with friends, and maybe on a Friday night I'll go to this nice little place that I get a good cocktail at, sit for a little while, maybe 2 hours because there's good live music, and then go my ass home. That's as much outside time as you'll see other than going to the grocery store. Otherwise, I'd be in my room reading, watching documentaries, watching sci-fi, sometimes cartoons, but I wouldn't be out here. It's like, I wouldn't even take days off for holidays or my birthday because I didn't see the point. I wasn't doing anything. Why not work? I'm starting to come out of that and starting to realize, it might be okay to have a person. It might be all right. Let me see something real quick. But I'm not because I sat with myself, because I gave myself the time, I'm not in a hurry. And that feels great. That feels great. Because so far, let me tell you, between me and you, there have been challenges within that old me would have fell for hook, line, and sinker. And now me is like, I see the mess immediately and I'm like, nope, don't want it, bye. Well, no ill will, no nothing. Old me used to be like, oh, well, word? Then I guess we taking it that in. If I like you enough and I think you like me enough, then we gonna fight about this. Not no more. Now I'm like, oh, that's how you feel? All right, you can go ahead and feel that somewhere, not by me. Oh, that's how you roll? If you can go ahead and roll that way, not by me. I'll see you later. And that's what I mean by sitting with yourself previously, and also what I mean by allowing yourself to fully develop before you make those kind of commitments. I encourage that strongly because you have a chance to start loving the parts of you that is growing and developing, like when you were in adolescence and you were developing physically. Now, between the ages of 19 and 25, you're developing the rest of the way. That's your second adolescence. Your second adolescence is in the mind. It is not the time for you to be making people or to be coming into union or lifelong contracts with anybody. Like I said, even if nobody else other than my own grandkids hear me say this, I want you to know that it's okay not to be coupled with someone at a very young age. You'll be a better partner and a better parent if you choose to wait. See, ain't nobody told me that, so I felt like it was on my heart to tell you that. And also, if you wait longer and you feel like, okay, there's a clock on me now. No, that's not how that works. What is for you will align with you. Don't force it. Anything you force will end up giving you a hard time anyway, hon. I'm telling you right there. Anything you try to force is going to give you a hard time. It's going to beat the brakes off of you physically, spiritually, and mentally so you can let it go. So your partner, even those who I may reach, your partner in life, if you choose to have one, It's already looking for you as you look for them. But you ain't got to chase it. You just be. Just don't always be in the house if you want a partner. You're going to have to go outside sometime and socialize sometime. But even if you don't want that, don't forsake the fellowship of others, especially if they're not like-minded. They don't always have to be like-minded, but like-spirited, I suppose. Like if somebody's unkind to service workers, they ain't like me. So we don't need to be fellowshipping because I'm going to take offense to that and I'm going to tell you about yourself. I'd rather not have to tell somebody about themselves if I'm hanging with them. Right? So align yourself with people who are friends and then see how that works out for you later on. And friends are alike in energy a lot of the times. That's why I say birds of a feather flock together. And a lot of times the old folks, when they said that, it was an insult. But it don't have to be. Don't mask in order to have a friend. Don't mask in order to have a relationship. Don't mask in order to have pretty much anything other than a job. Like your employment, you have to mask for that. But you're getting paid to mask, right? And hopefully you'll find something that you don't have to do that with even in that arena. But barring employment, I would advise that you never mask for anything or anyone. And that includes family members too, because sometimes that's kind of hard. Because that's one of the hardest ones that has been for me. Because I have my uncle who I love very dearly. He sees what I'm doing and he just doesn't, I don't think he fully understands. It's like, because I was raised in the Abrahamic Christian church. Like, when I say Abrahamic, I mean the type of doctrine that many of the Christian dichotomies adhere to, and that is the Bible. That's Abrahamic, if you don't understand the phrasing I just used. But it was a non-denominational Christian church, and I don't regret that education. It was a good education. But what I say is I'm evolving to a space where I can use that knowledge and build upon it. And if that's offensive to you, then I just won't do that around you. I can love you without having to engage in that. And he don't feel the same way. Like he's like always, like he's stopped like recently, but he spent a lot of time sending me Bible passages telling me about what God says and God says doesn't say. And I'm just like, but God ain't here. People wrote that. He don't like that. But people were moved to write that by something. So I will acquiesce to that sentiment. But that's about as far as I take it, because I think we're meant to build upon the knowledge that we're given. We're meant to take that knowledge as a baseline and then build upon it to develop ourselves. And if we actually want to be helpers, and that's a choice, if we want to be helpers, create ourselves the standards of ethics that we choose not to go out of, and then walk in that alignment. That's what alignment is for me. I'm not going to do a thing that's going to be harmful to myself or others if I can manage that. But also I'm going to allow myself space to be human. Like I just told you, I still go out and drink. I just don't get drunk to intoxication. I still go out and party from time to time. I just don't do things that I feel like would be detrimental to the work that I do. I still socialize in ways that I would assume that someone who perceives themselves to be a spiritual guide would ordinarily in the past not do. And for me, it's like, why not? Can I still do my job while while also being human and living the full human experience? So far, yes. Sometimes it's a challenge, but so far, yes. But I understand why there was a blockade to it. Because sometimes dating is challenging. Sometimes friendships are challenging. And if you have challenging days with those dynamics, then you may not want to do your spiritual work and your spiritual practice. You might not want to do a spiritual guide that day if you just had a really crappy breakup or something like that. But this is why I took the time to learn and grow individually and spiritually. It's like, okay, I can have a bad day and still compartmentalize and come out here and do what I need to do and see my clients and go right back to healing myself. For me, it's not masking. I'm compartmentalizing. I'm putting that on the shelf for now. And I don't have what one of my professors back in my master's program is called chicken shit conversations. Somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm gonna tell them today is pretty rough, but I'm managing. I can't complain, like the old folks say. And if they ask me follow-up questions, I might give them a little bit of information, but I'm not going to give them all of my crap. I'm not going to dump all my crap on them, right? Unless they're my therapist, okay? Or my spiritual guide. Because that's what they're there for. But the average human being don't want to hear your crap. Nor do they care, not because they're bad people, but because they're going through their own crap. Why put your crap on top of their crap pile? Because now they got to think about your crap and their crap too. That's exhausting. I don't know about nobody else. That's exhausting. Unless we are really, really close friends, you ain't gonna know what's going on in my life because it's my business. I don't even know how we got here. Mostly because I'm telling you that it's okay to be single. It's okay to have fun with your youth. Because life is challenging enough as it is without having to add additional challenges because you've been socialized to add those challenges to your life. Because yes, being in union is a beautiful and wonderful thing, but we should make our choices based on not societal norms, but our emotional, mental, and physical development being sound and complete. And personally, spiritually, excuse me for smacking that joke. Now here's where it's gonna come a little woo-woo spiritual. At 25, your brain finishes at development stage, and then we get our first challenge and baptism through fire at our Saturn return at 27. Now, if you don't know what a Saturn return is, go on here and look it up. And not everybody believes in this, and it's not a clinical thing, and not everybody spiritually believes in this. It's certainly not religiously. Not everybody believes in this, but I've seen it in action enough times to have a little faith in it. But between the ages of 27 and 29, we have something called a Saturn return, where we go through a lot of staunch challenges to help us develop ourselves. My subjective opinion is to help us develop ourselves further so that we can launch into adulthood properly. And not everybody passed their Saturn return. I've seen people not pass their Saturn return. When I say it's a pass-fail situation, you'll be given a set of challenges to see if you're going to be grounded spiritually, ethically, and morally. And that is subjective. Those areas are subjective. Now, ethics is not necessarily as subjective. Something's either ethical or unethical. You just got to roll with it, right? Moral, yeah, that is subjective. One person's moral is another person's amoral is another person's normal. Okay, but during that time frame, you're learning how to be a best version of yourself, or you're not. You're going through some really serious things in your life, or you're not, right? I have an oldest kid going through a Saturn return now, and I don't know how she's going to handle it on the other side, but I have faith that she's going to be good on the other side. She's going to see herself differently. She's going to see the world differently. That's the way it's supposed to be. She's going to be a fully developed adult by the time she's 27. I have faith in that because she's my kid, right? And I have faith in her because she's developed herself. She's been through a lot. She's developed herself enough and got strong enough to be able to successfully complete her Saturn return. So I know some people are worried, but I'm not. I think she's going to come on the other side better for it. But hey, if you want to wait until you're 29 to go ahead and make that choice to be in union or within your Saturn return, it's not always bad stuff. Sometimes that's the best time to get into union with someone. Because usually that's the time when, if you were in union with someone or you were in a relationship with someone, that's usually the midpoint in which you just got to decide whether you're going to let that thing go that ain't right for you no more, that you develop yourself out of, or that you evolved out of. If you're going to actually meet the challenge head on and let it go so that you can actually fully develop in other ways, not necessarily for another person or with another person. Because how you get them is how you lose them a lot of the time. You know how they say. But for yourself. Develop some aspects of yourself that you are allowing to stay stagnant or dormant, that you know are fully there. But you pretend like it's not there because you think you're making some kind of sacrifice for somebody you're evolved past at this point. For what? All you're going to do is torture each other. until you eventually leave each other anyway, or stay with each other because of what it looks like or appearances and be miserable. That don't seem like living to me. Not at all. Rip the band-aid off during your Saturn return on anything that is not aligned with you. You're going to be shown during your Saturn return between the ages of 27 and 29. You're going to be shown every area of your life that needs to be further developed or needs to be stripped away. It's up to you to listen to those information, that information that comes in as it comes in. So yeah, if it's that time, a lot of times people get married during that time. A lot of times people have their first kid during that time. There's some part of you that's going to launch into adulthood, but there's some part of childhood that's going to be stripped away from you. And again, that little snippet about the Saturn return, everybody don't believe and everybody don't have to believe in. Because a lot of people look at astrologers like, that's bogus stuff. Okay, you can say it's bogus if you want to. I won't begrudge you that. But everything else I've said is pretty sound and scientific based. I'm just one of those people that happen to have witnessed enough to understand. Once you can replicate something multiple times and see that you get the same result multiple times, for me, that's enough to be able to say, hey, there might be something to this. Astrology is no more of, and this is a subjective opinion, based on fact though, that I've experienced. Astrology is no more subjective or an opinion or less scientific, depending on which one you want to use, than a doctor who is a diagnostician trying to figure out what's wrong with somebody and throwing meds at it over and over again to treat the symptoms to see if they can find a problem. I don't understand why that's not problematic and astrology is problematic, because some people don't understand how to utilize it properly. So I'm going to sit here with my opinion, understanding that I have a degree in science. I have a master's degree in clinical mental health, and I've studied astrology for many, many years. To understand, they can go hand in hand and help each other if it's allowed. But do some people use it in ways that I find problematic, unethical, or counterintuitive to mental health or growth? Yes. But some people also abuse and misuse drugs. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater as it pertains to such things. Oh man, yes you could, but I don't suggest it. Anyway, just wanted to say those things. You're loved.